Welcome back. This is part 2 of the interview of Vancouver, Washington Mayor Tim Leavitt, done by Lars Larson. Let's go to set 2 and pick up where they left off.
You're saying somebody else is paying for this project. That's why we don't need to ask the citizens. They're not paying for it. Am I misinterpreting what you're saying?
Yes, a little bit.
How? Well, look, who's paying for the project? The citizens. Yeah. Who should be asked before you spend their huge amounts of their money? Should the citizens be asked before you spend huge amounts of their money?
Yeah, the Federal Transit Administration has the money available for the project.
Mayor, hold on. You do read the paper, right? What is our projected federal deficit this year? $1.6 trillion, 40 cents of every dollar in that budget is borrowed, a lot of it from China. So you say they've already got the money? Mayor, can you not tell me honestly that 40 cents out of every dollar those jokers are spending is borrowed money that nobody has a clue when it's going to be paid back? So how can you say they already have the money?
Well, the money is already set aside for Federal Transit Administration.
Is it real? Is there somewhere a bank account that says this is the Vancouver Light Rail project and the money is, or have they just said we've written a number on a piece of paper? Mayor, if I come and write you $1 million check, do you think it's real?
No.
Okay, because the money isn't there to back it up. But I say, no, but Mayor, I wrote the numbers on a piece of paper and handed it to you. It's as real as anything in that federal budget you're looking at, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, then how can you spend the taxpayers' borrowed money? The voters last November said, we don't want the government to borrow any more money. We want the government to live within its means. And you're in favor of a project you won't ask the voters for permission to build because you say it's being built with some money from somewhere else that you say is there, but we all know it's really not there.
Well, what I mean to say, Lars, is that we aren't asking our citizens to pay we're not going to be asking specifically for a new tax to pay for the construction
Mayor,
of light rail.
Where do you think the federal government is going to pay back those trillions of dollars they're borrowing on our behalf right now? Where do you think they're going to get the money to pay that back?
I'm hopeful that the economy turns around sometime in the near future.
Mayor, is there anybody you know who thinks we're going to generate any kind of federal surplus anytime within your lifetime or my lifetime? I hope you and I live another 40 years. Do you see anything on the horizon that says the federal government will earn a dime of surplus for which it can pay back some of this money? Can I ask you something? Where's most of that money coming from in that DOT budget?
Washington DOT or federal?
No, federal.
Well, a lot of it comes from gas tax.
Yeah, so in other words, all those people who drive cars and who voted for you back when you were against tolls, all those people are paying at the pump right now, and they're having their pockets sucked dry right now because of federal policies on drilling, because of federal policies on foreign policy, and they're having almost 50 cents a gallon sucked out of their pocket for state and federal gasoline taxes, and you want to spend it on something that you're afraid to ask them for permission to do.
Well, I agree that some of the programs at the federal level may be having some negative impacts on our economy.
That's not what I asked you. You answered some other question. It wasn't the one I asked. Are you afraid to ask the voters who are paying the money at the pump from their gasoline taxes, expecting to get roads and bridges out of it, to spend $1 billion or a couple of billion on light rail that you won't even ask them for permission? Mayor, am I right to suspect that when you don't want to ask them for permission, it's because you're pretty sure they're going to tell you no?
Actually, Lars, I'm not afraid to ask the voters anything. I think.
Then how about asking them if they want the light rail?
Well, we actually hear from them every week.
A formal vote.
Well, that would be an issue that our state legislature would need to take up.
Didn't you get rid of one of the transit board members because of anti-light rail sentiment?
No, we got rid of a transit board member because they violated the policies of representation on the transit board.
Didn't you also decide that all that citizen comment had to go at the end of the meeting when the cameras are turned off?
We moved citizens' communications to the end of the meeting over a year ago.
Mayor, I think this is highly dishonest of you. I'm going to tell you straight out.
How so, Lars?
Because you should, when my wife and I are going to spend money, we talk to each other. And if it's a large amount of money, we always talk to each other. If I go to the boss and say, hey, boss, I just spent $10,000 without asking your permission, how long do you think I'd be here? Now, you're talking about spending $1 billion or a couple of billion, let's not quibble, $1 billion plus, and you've told me already, you do not want a public vote on that question.
I told you I don't think a public vote is necessary because...
Why is it unnecessary to ask for the permission of the voters to spend over $1 billion of their money?
Because I believe in the project, Lars.
No, I didn't ask you that. Why do you get the privilege to spend over $1 billion of somebody's money without asking their permission? They are your boss, right?
Well, the citizens of Vancouver are my boss.
Yes, and
right.
And why don't you think it's necessary to go to them and say, would you like me to spend over $1 billion of your money, state, federal, gas tax, whatever, on a project? Why don't you think it's necessary to ask? Why don't you think it's necessary to ask your boss for permission to spend over $1 billion?
Well, because they've elected me into office to make some decisions, and
even the really huge ones like that.
Even large decisions. That's why we have representative form of government, right?
I'm going to tell you something, Mayor.
Yep.
We're going to replay this, and I can just about guarantee you any sensible voter, when he hears a politician saying, I don't think it's necessary to ask my constituents to spend $1 billion on something that's so unpopular it's voted down 3 times in the last 3 times they have been asked, that politician is not going to survive the next election and shouldn't.
Well, I agree, Lars, that there are times when representative government, when I should be helping make some decisions, and I think
how much money would you have to be spending for it to be necessary to ask for permission? If it was $10 billion, would that be enough that you'd have to actually ask?
If voters want to weigh in on this issue, they really should take it to the state and federal level, since those are
there is no state. There is no federal plebiscite. There is no federal initiative, Mayor. You know that. And you don't want them to ask you because you know what they're going to tell you. I think you're going to hear an earful. I think your office is going to get its phone ringing off the hook from people who are going to tell you, don't you spend a dime of my gas tax money on that stupid choo-choo train.
I just hope that folks realize that those calls really need to be going to the state and federal.
Oh, because you're not making the decision?
Well, actually, at the end of the day, neither the city of Vancouver, the city of Portland.
You're all just powerless. It's all happening without you saying anything, right?
Well, the city isn't writing the $850 million check.
No, nobody's directly responsible, so nobody's to blame. Mayor, I do appreciate you coming on. I hope you'll come back.
I enjoy chatting with you every time.
Thank you, sir.
Even when you're beating me up.
Well, I think in this case, I got to say it, Mayor, you deserve it. Mayor Tim Leavitt from Vancouver. You got the Lars Larson Show.